In the past 2 decades, we have seen a 60% increase in depression among teenagers, and many of us are asking if social media is at fault. We are happy to welcome back Dr. Rakeen Hawk, Director of Child Psychiatry Consultation at MUSC Sean Jenkins Children's Hospital. Dr. Hawk, great to have you back with us.
Thank you.
Can you give us a recap of where we left off in our prior conversation?
Yeah, what we had covered first is generally how our device is impacting the mental health of our kids. You know, one of the biggest takeaways is with devices integrated into our lives, they're posing a barrier in our direct human interactions. And where we see the most impact of that is within families, where parents are interacting less with their children and their children are interacting less with them. And a parent interacting and connecting with their baby is really critical for their baby developing their skills. And then when it comes to our teens, it's really critical for them staying connected with us, and that's important for them being mentally healthy. The other part in how they're impacting us at an individual level is the longer we are spending on our devices, the harder it can be for us to focus our attention. And the longer we're spending on social media apps, what we're seeing for our kids when they're spending 3+ hours on social media apps, they're having a harder time with their emotional health, with feeling insecure and anxious. And then the last thing is, with devices in the bedroom, our kids are getting less total sleep because they're spending more time on their devices late at night, and then they're ending up with less sleep and more sleepy during the day, and that has mental health effects too.
What is the first step for, let's start with adults, how they can integrate healthier device usage for their kids? Yeah,
so the bottom line is, for families, the most important and impactful thing we can do is parent modeling. And what I mean by that is having set times in a household where universally no one, parents included, are on their devices. This is most important during meal times and at bedtime. What that can practically look like in a family household is we're all going to turn our phones on. We're sitting down for dinner. We're all going to turn our phones on silent and put them in the fruit bowl on the counter. Okay, and we can have a similar system at bedtime where everyone puts their phone in some kind of designated central place. But that universal limit is what makes it the most effective approach, because then it normalizes this practice and it makes it more acceptable to our kids, and it helps protect them from overuse and some of the types of use that affect mental health. The second part for parents with their teens is we want to maximize as much direct conversation we have with our teens. Basically, this is about how do we be more connected even with these devices in the picture. You know, asking them about the things they're interested in, style, music, whatever that is. The more time we invest in being curious about who they are, the more they'll feel connected with us, and the better it will protect their mental health. One other key part, Taylor, is about like the universal limits. A lot of parents might be thinking, well, what about when we need to take a phone call? Okay, very practical thing to ask. Exceptions to these rules should just be communicated and explained very clearly. So if we're sitting down at dinner and we're all putting our phones in the fruit bowl and on silent, hey, dad's gonna keep the sound on his phone on. His phone is still gonna be on the counter, but the sound is gonna be on if dad gets an emergency phone call. So those things should be communicated while we're still doing the universal rule.
And Dr. Hawk, really quick, before I let you go, I wanna ask your opinion on this. There was a surgeon that came out and demanded that Congress put warning labels on social media as they do tobacco and things of that nature. Do you see that in our future?
Difficult for me to say at this point in time. I mean, the devices are our new norm. These things are here to stay, and now we're tasked with figuring out where do we find the balance. So difficult for me to predict what that future will look like from health recommendations, but certainly from the American Academy of Pediatrics, already our medical organizations are giving out guidelines for families, and so there may be room to develop off of that. But again, the best thing, the best recommendations is it starts within our family household with what are our norms going to be, and our kids are seeing that we're adhering to that too as parents.
Dr. Hawk, I want to thank you so much for joining us today, and for more information on how to reach Dr. Hawk, musckids.org is where you can go. Thank you again.
Yeah, thank you.
We're back in 2 minutes.